To introduce our speakers for the day is none other than Kiwanian Rupert Cutler.
Well, thank you, President Reggie. It's a pleasure to be up here again as the program coordinator for the month of January, and we've had 4 pretty good ones, including today. And you'll enjoy our speakers today. They are the author and the illustrator of a book called Keepers of the Tradition, Portraits of Contemporary Appalachians. You'll see it for sale out on a table out in the lobby. I just bought a copy myself because I think it's really outstanding, and you'll learn more about its production from our speakers today, who include Leslie Roberts Gregg, Ms. Leslie Roberts Gregg, who grew up in Longshop, Virginia, as a graduate of Blacksburg High School and has a degree in art from Virginia Tech. She's has a history in biomedical and commercial art, but her love of working with people led to the specialty of fine art portraiture, with hundreds of paintings to her credit. Her commissioned works of art hang in public and private collections throughout the United States. Lewis has always been a passionate fan of Appalachia and the people who make it special. She resides with her family on a farm in the Catawba Valley. Her portraits, as you can see, and there's some on this easel over here, are absolutely outstanding. And Michael Abraham, a businessman and writer. He's a native of Christiansburg, graduate of Christiansburg High and Virginia Tech with a degree in mechanical engineering. He's had a varied career in engineering, sales, marketing, business management, and real estate management. He currently splits his time between the management of an industrial condominium in Christiansburg and his writing career. He lives in Blacksburg with his wife, 2 dogs, 4 motorcycles. Steve, you can relate to that. He and his wife have 1 adult daughter. The 2 of them will talk about this book, Keepers of the Tradition, his 7th book, all celebrating the unique culture of Appalachian Virginia and West Virginia. So please welcome Leslie Gregg and Michael Abraham.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back here in downtown Salem again. And oh, we got a good audience. Okay, they recognize a joke when we try it. Okay, all right, that's the last one I'll do for at least a little while. It's great to be back. I want to thank, in particular, Rupert and also Gary. They attended a lecture that Leslie and I did not too long ago at the History Museum. And I'm sorry, the History Society. What is it, Rupert? Thank you, guys. Historical Society of Western Virginia. And I said, you know, you guys really should come to our Kiwanis Club. So we're delighted to be here. I have the great distinct pleasure of introducing my collaborator in this project, Leslie Gregg. You know all about her already because Rupert told you everything, but I want to tell you just a couple things. Is that in addition to being charming and attractive, as you can easily see yourself, Leslie is probably the most thoughtful human being I've ever met in my life, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with her on this project. We've known each other, I think, since the embryonic stage, and we've been friends for a long time. I've been writing. I've been doing that pretty much alone, and she's been painting, and she's been doing that alone. And the idea came together. She's going to talk about that in a minute. But when Leslie Roberts Gregg says, let's do something together, you pretty well jump on it. And so it's been a terrific privilege to work with her. Task number 1 was to honor the people that we put into this book, and I have to say it's been one of the most personally and emotionally rewarding things that I've ever done in my life. And if you really want to make people happy, get an outstanding portrait artist to draw their picture and then put them in a book. It really works, okay? So I recommend that to anybody. If you're feeling down and you really want to do a good thing and make people like you a lot, that's a good way to do it. So, Leslie, talk a little bit for me.
First of all, thank you for having us and for the lovely lunch. This was really nice. The project started because I gave Michael's wife, Jane, a call one day. Michael had just come off of a hard-fought campaign for House of Delegates back in 2013. And I come from a family of politicians, political, involvement, and I know how difficult it is. And so about a week or two after the campaign, I called Jane and I said, Jane, how's Michael doing? And Jane said, Les, he needs a project. So I was brainstorming, trying to think of something that Michael could do. And it occurred to me, I have always been on the treadmill of painting commissions and doing that work for about 25 years. And I thought, I've always wanted to paint some of the individuals in our area that make it such a unique and special place to live, and the individuals that I grew up around. And so I gave Michael a call, and I kind of fielded the idea, with him and said, Mike, what if? Well, in the course of the phone call that lasted about an hour, Mike already had the title down, he had the people lined up, he had everything ready to go, and I was going, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Excuse me, it turned out to be absolutely perfect and a wonderful collaboration, because I was very uncertain how it would work, since, like Michael said, we have always worked alone, solo. And to work with another individual and try and make it come together, we had to test it out first. It couldn't have been better. And he's been a joy to work with, and he was a good writer, and I enjoyed doing the illustrations, so good project.
So we got to work. So after an initial 2-week period where every time we talked to each other, we'd okay, I'm still in. Are you still in? Are you still want to do this? We picked out one particular person. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. First, I wanted to just take a couple of minutes of your time today to talk about the other books that I've written. And Leslie's going to do the Vanna White thing here for me and bring you up to speed on how I got to this book.
Do I get paid extra for this?
Book number 1 is called Keepers of the Tradition. I'm sorry, that's the latest book. Spine of the Virginias is a book that I wrote 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. And this is a travelogue along the border between Virginia and West Virginia. And it happens to feature someone who's in here. Where's Bill? Bill Wolf is actually in this book, and so he'll autograph it for you if you sign it today. But it sort of explores this odd sibling relationship that we have between Virginia and West Virginia, because people talk about the Carolinas and they talk about the Dakotas, but nobody ever talks about the Virginias. So raise your hand if you happen to be from West Virginia. Excellent, wonderful. So you'll enjoy that book. My other travelogue is called Harmonic Highways. Harmonic Highways is about the Virginia Crooked Road, our heritage music trail, starting locally here in Rocky Mount and extending all the way across the southwestern part of the state. And this is me sort of bumming around and interviewing musicians and instrument makers and promoters and such. I've also written 4 novels. They're all set in the area. The first one is Union, WV, Union, West Virginia, which is just north of Salem across the line in Monroe County. I wrote Providence, Virginia. Does anybody know where Providence is? No. Providence is a little town outside of Fries, which is a suburb of Galax. And Providence is a disaster novel about the collapse of the power grid, sort of what would happen in Appalachia if the power went out and didn't come back on again. War, West Virginia. War is a place. What you've noticed here is a trend that all of my books are named after places. They're all real places. They're all places with an English language definition where I can use the title as a metaphor within the story. War is the scene of a fictional account of a flood, much like Buffalo Creek, if you folks remember that from 1972, and how the locals react this time to this horrific flood. And Orange, Virginia came out of my political stuff. This is a story about Virginia politics and what happens if the crazies take over. We won't mention them specifically, but hopefully they know who they are. Anyone in here, has anybody read any of my books? Bill, okay, okay, wonderful. So which did you read? Union, okay. Well, you have a lot of catching up to do, so if you like the first one, you might like the second one, you might not. But as I say to everyone who picks up a book from me, if you like my books, tell everyone you know, and if you don't like my books, you can tell your cat. So, Leslie, let's talk about how we did this project.
First of all, we had to come up with a list of individuals that we wanted to paint. Some of them I knew and interview as well, but some of them I knew, some of them Michael knew, and others we found by referral. And once we had our list of subjects, then we would schedule an appointment, go out and meet with them, and sit down. And Michael would do the interview. And Michael is very, very good at drawing people out. And he would sit there, and he would have their complete attention, which worked perfectly for what I wanted to do because they totally ignored me. And I was able to step back, move around, observe the individual, study them, make notes, take photos for backup, and get to know the individual by watching their mannerisms and their gestures, which was perfect for going back to the studio and putting together a composition for the portrait. So that's how the partnership works so well together.
What we'd like to do right now is briefly show you these people and the portraits that Leslie has done. And so, yes, ma'am.
These are reproductions of the originals. The original portraits are quite large, and they're going to be shown at the History Museum of Western Virginia starting in February. And we'd like to invite you. There's going to be an opening reception for that on February 12th. We'll have live music and refreshments, and we'll have some of the keepers there too. But these are just small reproductions. I wanted to say that because you have to come and view the originals, please.
By the way, this has become one of the fun, unexpected, I guess, nice things about this project together is that the people that we put in this book have now, we've started to refer to them as keepers. They are our keepers, and they call themselves keepers, and they form relationships with each other, which has been an unexpected thing. We think it's very, very cool. I'm going to introduce you right now to Dudley Scott. Dudley is a coal miner. He lives in the McCoy section of Virginia, not very far at all from where Leslie grew up. Dudley's in his early 90s, and he is a very fastidious man who's preserving the legacy of his neighbors and their coal mining tradition in Montgomery County. Second person I'd like you to meet is Bill McDonald. Bill is, old McDonald had a farm. Bill is a farmer he's literally in Blacksburg. He's in the town limits. He's a mountain of a man. He's about 6'5". He rivals Haas Cartwright in size. There's a wonderful picture in our book that I just love of he standing next to Leslie because he just is towering over her. But his family dates back to the 1700s, and they've been farming in our community since then. Ada Sherman. Ada is a gospel singer, and Ada is keeping up the tradition in her church of singing the gospel. And it was a wonderful thing to sit in her living room and listen to her sing and play her piano. Wayne and Jane Henderson. Wayne Henderson is probably the most famous person in our book. Wayne is a luthier. Who knows what a luthier is? He's a guitar maker. Actually, a luthier is anyone who makes stringed instruments. And Wayne is passing on the tradition of making stringed instruments to his daughter, Jane. And she's joined the family business. She makes smaller instruments, smaller guitars, and ukuleles. They live down just south of Mount Rogers, right on the border of Virginia and North Carolina. Sam Steffens. Sam is up on the upper left on the board. She is an herbalist and a midwife. And she when we were there, the afternoon that we were there, she went out into her yard and picked shrubbery and threw it into the jar in front of us and poured boiling water over it, and that was our tea. Jimmy Price. Jimmy Price is keeping up a tradition in his family. The family is in Price's Forks, which VDOT has changed into Price's Fork, which he's still not very happy about. But he's a millstone preservationist, and for 210 years his family was quarrying, I guess you could say, millstones out of the side of Brush Mountain, not far from Blacksburg. Let's see, Carrie Underwood. Carrie is a restaurateur and is put himself now in the moonshine business. He's on the upper right up there, and Carrie is from Roanoke. I'm going to read a brief section from his chapter in just a second. Edwin Lacey is a country preacher. Leslie will dig him out just in a second. Edwin is one of my good friends from a long time ago who's formed a little sort of offbeat church out in the middle of nowhere in Floyd County. And they go and sing Appalachian music. He's a masterful a banjo player and a terrific guy. Frazier, Pam Puckett Frazier. Pam is a quilter, what she calls herself a granny quilter, and I don't think there was anybody in our book who was happier to be in it than Pam, and she makes the most beautiful, exquisite quilts that you've ever seen, and they are for sale, so help her out. Jason Rutledge, he's the lower right on the same board. He was the first person we did, and I like to tell the story that Leslie never let me see these portraits until they were done. We had a grand opening. We had an unveiling in a room probably half this size and invited all the people to come and see their portraits. Leslie had hung them on the wall and had put a drape over them, and none of the people in them had seen them before. And we went around the room individually, one after another. We had a little crowd of about 450 people, which is the largest audience we've ever had in the Alexander Black House in Blacksburg. And one by one, we unveiled these portraits. And there were quite a few moist eyes in that room. It was very, very special. And what I said to Leslie when I saw that picture of Jason, her portrait, he's going to wet his pants when he sees this, and he almost did. Arthur Connor is one of my favorite characters. Arthur is in his 90s now. He's a country fiddle maker, also a luthier, and he'll tell you that, yeah, 3 or 4 of my fiddles are being played right now in the Roanoke Symphony. And who else? Swede McBroom. Swede is a sort of an ethereal fellow, lives up in Floyd now. He's originally from Roanoke, and he is a custom woodworker. And the door frame that he's standing in front of, he made with his own hands. So I'm going to read just a few of these, and then we'll talk. We'll entertain some questions and wrap up. 5 minutes. Carrie Underwood, our moonshiner. People here didn't think making moonshine was wrong, although they knew it was illegal. They were proud of their product. Laws against it were bad laws that good men had to break. They'd been doing it a long, long time. Someone came along and said, no, you can't do that anymore. To them, it was no different than raising corn. Everybody did it. Authorities started arresting people. It got to be a game of cat and mouse. Sheriffs and deputies knew who was making, but they couldn't arrest anybody they couldn't catch. The moonshiners became really, really good drivers. I asked Arthur Connor, the fiddle maker, how he learned how to do this. And he said, well, the Lord, he showed me how. God gave me an expression I'll never forget. We talked about religion. I don't go to church much, but everything you look at is created by the Maker. The birds, the blade of grass, they depend on him, the Maker. The guy said, well, the Lord gives you a good sack of potatoes, but he expects you to keep the weeds out. I thought about that. What I think that means is that the Lord gives you a little bit, but he expects you to do something with it. The Lord, he gives me a gift that I've used ever since I come into this world. Wayne Henderson is famous for his tall tales and his stories, and I want to read you a story that Wayne let me put in the book. My cousin Tex lived around the corner, and he was one of the only kids I played with. My sister and brother were 9 and 11 years older, and they were out and gone. If I wasn't carving or whittling or gardening, once in a while I could play with my cousin, who was my age. Now, we was sickly and puny. He was sick all the time with a sore throat, so his folks decided to have his tonsils taken out. I had a sore throat too, but I didn't tell nobody because I didn't want them taking mine out. Anyway, they took him over to the hospital in Jefferson, North Carolina to have his tonsils out. While they made an appointment for that to be done, the doctor came out to talk to his parents, and they said, you know, while we've got him here and put to sleep, we should circumcise him too. So they did that at the same time. Now, my cousin, he showed up back at school a couple of weeks later, and I couldn't wait to see how he was doing. He said, when I got back from that hospital, I was in pretty bad shape. I mean, I feel fine now, but let me tell you something we didn't know. Those tonsils aren't where we thought they was. I watched Wayne tell this story at the Moss Center, the Opera Hall in Blacksburg, you know, this $100 million opera hall, and all these highbrow people out in the audience, Wayne telling these bawdry jokes. It was great. Jimmy Price, I'm going to do a brief quote from him, and we'll wrap up. Jimmy's the man who's preserving the legacy of his stone-cutting family. My people cut the stone that ground the flour that fed our region. My people cut the stone that built Virginia Tech. That stone signifies endurance. For education to endure, you need enduring facility and campus, and you need enduring traditions. That stone supports the education, but also the traditions. Tradition is the glue that adheres cultures and civilizations and the things we know and care about. When you lose the tradition, you lose the glue. Thank you all very much. Wanted to mention one other thing before we go today. Two things, really. We'll be here as long as anyone is around. We'll be selling books outside and signing them, and we'd be happy to visit with you as long as you like. The other thing is I wanted to let you know about my next book, which involves all of you. The next book is a travelogue between Norfolk and Cincinnati. And all of you are thinking right now, well, what happens between Norfolk and Cincinnati? This is a travelogue in economic history called Chasing the Powhatan Arrow. And so I'm seeking people in the Roanoke community and elsewhere, anywhere along this corridor, who may know about the trains and about the Roanoke involvement in trains. And Roanoke has obviously an enormous history in that. And I hope to be back in a year or so with a new book, Chasing the Powhatan Arrow. Thank you.
We want to thank Leslie and Michael for being with us today. Next week, our guest speaker is Chris Perkins, retiring Roanoke City Police Chief, who will be introduced by Kiwanian Dave Spangler. If everyone will please stand for the benediction. Having passed through our regular order of business, we are now prepared to leave this time of friendship and fellowship to re-enter our everyday world. Before we depart, let's try and remember three things. First, to extend to every person we meet the same kindness that we as Kiwanians share with each other. Second, let's be ever vigilant for ways to better serve the elderly, the downtrodden, and the young people of our community. And finally, let's take every opportunity to share the day with those with whom we sympathize and deem worthy of our regard. If we can turn these ideals into actions, we will truly begin building a better tomorrow. Live life, laugh loudly, recruit members, and rest up for KPAD. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke is now adjourned for the next 167 hours, and we'll reconvene next Wednesday.